Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you what best practices you can follow in order to handle, manage and get notified once you get errors in Power Automate flows. Let's dive in. Here I am in Power Automate. Let's start to create a new flow so I can show you how I'm going to handle errors. So let's call it just try catch. So let's hit the button create and let's start the creation of the first step. So normally, just to have a demo, you deal at the beginning with variables. So let me place a very easy variable here, which would be an array in my case. And what I'm going to add is a bunch of cities. And this one will be called city, of course. This is an array city. There you go. So I added my first one, my first step. So now theoretically I can start with the business logic, what I have to do basically with this flow. So the first thing that you should do as a best practice always is placing a first scope, which is basically a block under control. So let me add this one. And let me call it try. So here I can start building my business logic. And at the very end, what I will do now, it's another thing, which is basically adding another scope. And this is my catch. Okay, we have now two blocks. So here, we don't want to run this catch all the time, right? We want to have the catch just when the try fails. And to do that, click on the catch scope, and here we have run after try, of course, and what we want to have is this catch running when the try fails. And this is exactly what we are going to have now. So catch will run just in case the try fails. So what else to do? So here ideally you can save or log the error in a database, in a Dataverse table, in SharePoint, whatever. But you can also send an email, which is pretty common and frequent as use case. So let me select this one, send an email. This is exactly what I want to do. I can send this to a group, to a shared mailbox or any other mailboxes, but I'm going to target myself. So here, let's start to add some dynamic value. So we don't want to write static text by adding the name of the flow, for example, manually here inside this text field, and the same for the body. We don't want to have that. We want to have something more dynamic if this is possible. Alright, zooming in so we can see a bit better the UI. I am now in the subject and I pasted this flow name. I have this parameter which takes automatically and dynamically the name of the flow. But this is not really the display name, for example. This one that you see here, this is the GUID, which identify uniquely your flow. If you want to have the display name, you have to use this other one, this other parameter, workflow tags flow display name. And this is how you can get the name of your flow. Next, in the body, we want to have the error if this is possible. So I'm going to paste this. I have error from try, which contains result coming directly from try. This is a way that you can use to get the outputs coming from the try block. Then we have this other error message scope, and I use it here coalitions. In the case is null, I want to provide a message, no scope error message found, for example. But this is another way that you can use, playing with actions. Name of the block or the step that you want to try to pull the error message, and then error and message. In the case this is null, you are going to have no scope error message found. Next, we have body error. This is a more generic error. You can use also this other approach, outputs coming from try, body, error, and message. And sometimes you get immediately an error on the trigger, on the very first step. In that case, you can use trigger outputs and then the body. Trigger error. This is my trigger error. Okay, let's start to add something in this flow to see if something doesn't work, what is going to happen. So I'm going to use, in this case, an HTTP, a very simple HTTP trigger, and I'm going to do a get method. And here let me add a URL that I'm going to retrieve by typing here graph API list groups. So just to have something there, let me open the documentation, and if I am on the list, I can use this one. Very simple. So let me go again on URI, let me remove the get, I don't need that, and I'm going to remove also the filter. I'm going to keep it very simple by using this endpoint. So of course this will fail because I will not add the authentication part, which is absolutely required if you want to consume the Graph API endpoints. Okay, so we have done the very first step. Now if I run this flow, 100% this will fail. And let's see what is going to happen. So let's hit the button continue and run flow. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to open my email.office.com. It should be this one, Office 365, yeah. So, this is my email. What I got here is error from try. I have a status 401. So I know that I got an access denied at a very first glance, so I can see immediately this. Invalid authentication token, access token is empty. So this is the very first step, error from try. This is what the try returned to me. And here I have a more generic: an action failed, no dependent actions succeeded, no body error message found, by using the third method. But this one is pretty good because it tells me immediately the error message and what is the potential issue here. Okay, we found and we discovered this very nice approach. Now let's say that you wanna have an apply to each flow inside the scope. Maybe you wanna have a more complex scenario here, which is pretty common in Power Automate. So let's try to build something more difficult. What I will do now is adding under control an easy apply to each. Here I will reuse the existing city variables that I defined before, and now here inside I will execute my HTTP trigger. But before to do it, let me add another block here. I will use a condition, and what I will do now, I will iterate items. Let me add items, and when this is equal to, let's say, this city, Canberra. So let's go back again. There we go. When is equal to Canberra, it should go inside the true. Perfect. So let me now move the HTTP inside this condition. Let me save it. All right, I can close it. Perfect. Now we have this thing. So of course this will catch the error inside here. This apply to each. Let's see what is going to happen now. So let me run the flow. Done. And let's go on. We can immediately see that the for the iteration, we have the error of the HTTP trigger. So here I have my email just received, and now the message change. I have action failed, and it's more, let's say, more generic. No dependent actions succeeded, an action failed. So this doesn't tell me a lot. So I can see that as I inputs, I have a for each with the array that we have seen, and then something went wrong. So if I want to get a better understanding about the error, which is even this can drive me immediately in the specific block or step where the error is occurring. But if I want to be more specific, what I can do in this particular case, which is, again, is pretty common, dealing with for loops, apply to each, it's very common. So what I have to do is, this is my advice, is to place another scope here in this part. Use always scope, because in a scope you can do several things. You can send an email, you can log the error in a database. It is also good to see for your eyes that you have a block instead of having 3 steps all the time when you want to get the specific error. So say that, let me take the scope here again. This is, I don't want to call scope 2, I want to call catch loop. There we go, this is added. Now inside I want to send again an email. Here in the body, let's go, but before to go in the body, let me target myself. I'm going to send to myself the email. Let me take the previous one, flow name. There we go. I want to get these things dynamically. Now in the body, I have to reference the HTTP step, because potentially this is where we can get the error. So what I'm going to use is error and then coalitions. So this is not collect groups. The name, I took this from another flow. This is not correct. You need to add the exact name of the action, which is HTTP. Okay. All right. So these are 3 different ways that you can use to get the error message from a specific step. If you think that a specific step in an apply to each is going to throw an exception, then you can use this way. So let's now test this, and let me save and test. Then again run flow, done, and let's see what we get. We have this message, this email action failed, and we have exactly, basically more or less the message that we have seen before is the same, because this is the main email that you get. Something, I guess, went wrong. Okay, let me double check here. So if we go here, this has not triggered. That's correct, because I have not properly configured the catch loop. So I want to run the catch loop when this guy here fail. There you go. Now it's properly configured. I can save and test again. So let's run the flow, done, and now we should see something different. Let's wait for the email. There we go, here it's coming. And now I got and received the first email that we have seen in the flow. So the first one coming, this one, send an email, and not the one at the very bottom of the flow. So in this way you don't get even twice email. But in this case I can see the error message, access token is empty. So I can provide more information here. if I want to be more clear, but this is the way to go. So you can place scopes inside of your flow to catch exactly specific steps that you think potentially can fail. This is the way to go to manage errors in Power Automate. Let me know in the comment down below what do you think about these best practices and if you are following other approaches. I hope you enjoyed. If yes, please consider to subscribe and like. See you next time. Bye.